Welcome to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, where we sit down with the people who give shape, texture, and voice to life on the North Fork of Long Island. Some are rooted here by generations, others arrive by chance or choice, but all carry with them a piece of the story. We talk about what's changing, what's worth holding on to, and the currents of history, both quiet and loud, that run through this place. I'm your host, Christopher Bianchi, and for episode 181, we sit down with Darren St. Executive Director of the Southold Historical Museum. Darren grew up in a family deeply involved in theater, education, and history, an environment where storytelling was a part of everyday life. That early exposure to performance and the power of narrative has carried through a remarkable career that bridges art and scholarship. With studies in psychology and communications at Fordham and the London School of Economics, Darren has developed a distinctive approach to history, one that values empathy, context, and connection. His original works such as Running Scared, Running Free, and The Spy Next Door, and his acclaimed involvement with the Jupiter Hammon Project reveal a passion for bringing complex and often challenging histories to life in ways that engage both heart and mind. Now leading one of the East End's oldest cultural institutions, Darren is guiding the Southold Historical Museum into a new chapter, one rooted in collaboration, community engagement, and storytelling that connects the past to the present. We spoke about his upbringing in a family of educators and performers, the intersection of history and psychology, the importance of living history, and his vision for the museum as a vital part of the North Fork's cultural landscape. So I hope you enjoy episode 181 with Darren St. This episode was recorded July 31st, 2025. Thank you so much for coming on the Floyd Memorial Library podcast today. I'm really looking forward to talking to you today.
Me too, Chris.
And so just in the beginning, if you can give a little introduction about your job here and even where you were born and raised.
Of course, I'm the executive director of the Southold Historical Museum. I'm also a board member of Brecknock Hall here at Peconic, and I was born in Medford, Long Island, New York. I had a wonderful childhood out there. A lot of bike riding and friends in the neighborhood, climbing trees and adventures in woods. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. And just to go back a bit, you've been involved in storytelling and performance since you were just 5 weeks old. Can you share some of your earliest memories of that world and how your family's passion shaped your own path?
Of course. So 5 weeks old, that's about when it started for me. I was born into entertainment. When I was born, my parents were running a touring musical company. So they would tour the Eastern Seaboard, going up and down, doing musicals, 4 musicals they were running at the time. And that meant I was on the road with them. So some of my earliest memories start at 4 a.m. And it would be, I'd hear my mother using the hairdryer, see the lights start turning on, be very tired, thrown into the back of our van, start loading up all of the equipment and costumes. We'd pick up cast members, and then we'd be on the road heading to the first gig, doing a show, packing it up, moving on to the next. It was wonderful.
Yes. And you mentioned your parents, but does your family's history within theater and history go even further back to?
It began with my father's passion, I believe.
Okay.
My mother was responsible for running the business and still does. The business is still alive and thriving, but it was my father's interest in entertainment that really started this adventure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And could you talk a little bit more about your time through middle school and high school and working in that area or being involved in that as a...
Yeah, so actually by school is a good way to break it up, because in elementary school, we still were doing a lot of touring. So my weekends were spent on the road, going upstate, spending a lot of time in the Catskills and Poconos with my father, going and doing shows. Then as I got into middle school, I could start helping out performing even more, doing productions that would be here on Long Island. My father started writing more. So local museums and societies, they would call him up, say, we have a story to tell. How can you help us turn this into an educational and engaging experience?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the niche that we started to fulfill. It was engaging educational experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved every minute of it. We worked for so many museums across Long Island, but also in New Jersey. And we're also working for theme parks, doing
Wow.
educational programs for them. Yeah,
Yes.
SeaWorld, Disney, Busch Gardens. So I got to spend time there. And that would have been more towards my high school area,
Okay.
those bigger productions.
And were you involved in it even in high school?
It's a family affair.
Family
It has
affair.
to. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
you have to. I don't know. What do your parents do for a living?
My parents, one's a oceanographer,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom is a librarian.
Oh, well, see,
So there's
it's a family
kinda-
affair there.
Yes.
And here we sit talking in a library, of course.
Yes.
But I'm sure you had a similar experience. Family dinners were usually sharing those conversations that come from work. What projects are on the table? What problems are we trying to solve?
Mm-hmm.
For us, we were discussing plot development or a sequence of a song list. Sometimes we'd be saying, how did rehearsal go? The big question when we had shows going, and there'd be times there would be 5 shows in different locations in one day.
Mm-hmm.
And if my father wanted to know how did a show go, he would ask, how were the laughs? That's first and foremost. That's paramount. If you have the laughs, you have the audience's engagement. You know that they're invested in enjoying themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then so even through high school, did you know what you wanted to do even coming out of high school at that point, or?
No, unfortunately, because even today, I don't think there's a clear path for museum studies, especially not in the way that I engage with it. So when I went to college, my parents, they said I could do anything I want, very supportive, except entertainment. That was their only caveat.
No.
The only caveat was except entertainment. So I went and got degrees in psychology and communication and media studies. I studied abroad, learned about economics and business, and had a great time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was after these adventures that I started to come back and realize that those 2 building blocks of education and entertainment really shaped who I am. And one place I can harness those abilities are at museums.
Yes. But was it that your parents didn't want you to be limited to that, or in terms of doing what they did? Or did they say exactly why they wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to explore other paths?
It's interesting. I haven't gone back to ask them why
Okay.
they made that specific caveat. If I were to speculate, it may be they feared I'd be going into just one niche, just saying that I want to be an actor and focus exclusively on performing. And that may have narrowed my perspective of the world. Would have opened up other opportunities. It's a great career. But in their eyes, they wanted to see me exploring something new because I've spent so many years already in front of audiences since, as I said, 5 weeks old.
Yes.
I did a fun exercise one day. I was curious. A good friend of mine is a pilot, commercial pilot. And he was telling me what it requires to become a registered pilot. And you have to log 1,000 hours in the air. That's one of the requirements. Have to have your logbook, 1,000 hours in the air. And I said, that sounds great. I wonder how many hours I've spent on the boards in front of an audience. And even after all this time with, not counting myself as a adorable baby standing on stage or telling a few jokes, but real projects in front of an audience. And I did it. Yeah. Cleared the 1,000 hours, but I thought that was a good barometer to see your proficiency in an occupation. Have you spent $1,000 doing your job?
Yes. So from then you mentioned studying in college, but you eventually made your way back to production and theater. Was there a gap in between then, and then what year or kind of the time frame?
It came in with education. When I got out of college, you're looking for employment, and I started being a substitute teacher. And that was very easy. I can pick up the job as I needed, not a problem, just subbing. But within the first 3 months of me being there, I was sitting in a staff meeting and the principal was complaining because they didn't have a theater program. Their theater director actually walked out in the middle of their production. Just quit, never seen again. And she was very concerned. And that was the first time I raised my hand and I said, this isn't why you're paying me, but I am familiar with theater production and might be able to help. After that, I got employed full-time as a theatrical arts teacher and then chairman of the Fine and Performing Arts Department. And that started my teaching theater as an educational pursuit.
Wow.
Yeah. I loved it.
And you've also created original productions like Running Scared, Running Free, and The Spy Next Door. What's your process when developing historically inspired script or event?
Research. It starts with a lot of research. It's not just writing. It's not just reading one book on a subject matter, all the books on a subject matter. And it usually takes a team. We have individuals who help the production team in just developing all of that information, aggregating it in one place. And then my father, he's the writer, and will begin to compose how does this story take shape? What are the most compelling elements? What are the questions we are asking? And distilling that down into an engaging production.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of research.
And you were more behind the scenes at that, or were you continuing, did you want to continue acting on stage at the same time?
Yeah, it always depended. My involvement depended on my life. So when I was in college, no, I couldn't do too much. I was away. It was really, I wasn't as involved as I would have liked. After college, I was teaching full time, so I couldn't perform on stage, but I was able to help with night rehearsals, despite how much we begrudge night rehearsals. But that's how I was able to help there. And it would be usually in that capacity, it would be a lot of technology.
Okay.
So I'd be helping with the audio development, the soundtracks, or stage lighting, technical aspects. I could come in, put in 6 hours, set up a grid, and then move on back to work. But once employment changed, there were long stretches of time where I had that availability and was able to be on stage 3, 4, 5 days a week, doing multiple shows a day, different locations. And it's a lot of fun. It's challenging, but it can be exhilarating.
Yes. And did you get to tour quite a bit across the country, or where did you focus your productions?
By the time I was on stage regularly, it was Long Island.
Okay.
So we would be driving, maybe we would be doing something in Manhattan, and then we'd be heading over to Bethpage and, conclude the night by heading out east to a theater out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's probably hard to answer, but did you have any favorite plays that you worked on? Or they're probably all important.
Yeah, there are a couple that come to mind. One you already mentioned, I'll come back to it, but I did get to tour outside the country. I got to do Shakespeare Abridged over in Brussels. We played Manhattan. We did that. Got to do Shakespeare in the Park. That was great. But we also got to go to Europe and new audience. And I just loved trying to learn and understand, how does a Brussels audience respond to humor? How does timing change? How does comedy evolve? How do you connect with an audience that has a very different history than you do? Yeah. So I really loved that challenge, learning new audiences. But one of my favorite shows had to be Running Scared, Running Free. And that was the one that you had mentioned. It tells the story of an enslaved woman, Dorcas, and her pursuit of freedom and the many obstacles and tribulations she faces along the way. The reason the show meant so much to me and continues to: great production, phenomenal script, won numerous awards for that show over countless years, probably one of our longest running shows. We did it for hundreds of schools, thousands of students. But my favorite part of the entire production is when it's over, because thankfully, my father understood the impact of dealing with this subject matter, and you need to have a conversation. It wasn't enough to put it on the stage, turn off the lights, and invite people to leave. Instead, we would turn on the house lights and invite them into a conversation. And those are the moments that I appreciate the most. Yeah.
Definitely.
Direct feedback, direct questions, challenging questions on very challenging subject matter, but approaching it with respect for everyone involved and being able to share that history. It's difficult, but it's so valuable.
No, it's important to share that story. You mentioned even with a specific example like that, but through your approach with education and public programs, there have been like different types of traditional models, especially when dealing with complex topics like slavery and resistance in plays. Do you do that with other programs too, as well?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We've done women's suffrage
Yes.
a lot. That's a great challenging subject. We also did a museum called us up in Lawrence called Rock Hall. Beautiful museum, great interpretation, wonderful director. And they approached us with the story. They had the research. They knew the history of the house and asked, can we create a production to be performed live to help tell the story? Great. Happy to help. So we compose the script, do the research, and we start bringing in audiences. And the audiences are following the family of the house who, during the Revolutionary War, are held captive and sent upstairs to live in their attic. And they are captives on their own land during the Revolutionary War. And you're exploring these challenges, the relationships with the military, and what did Long Island look like at that time. And the thing that captivated us so much about that story is that it unfolds that the captors are soon to be American. It's not the Loyalists taking over the land. It was the Patriots.
Yes.
And that's a common narrative for here on Long Island. It's not one we tell often, but it does shape our history. And so being able to explore a different angle that we're a little unfamiliar with, wonderful opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And looking at your performances and productions, they are unique in blending performance, museum work, and immersive programming. That's quite rare. What do you think is the power of living history versus more static forms of storytelling?
Immersive storytelling, we didn't have a title for it. It didn't exist. We now can say immersive entertainment, and we have a little bit better understanding as to what that means. It's non-conventional, but it was really born out of our necessity to connect with audiences. When you're working in a museum space, you don't have a 300-seat or an 800-seat theater often. You have a historic house, historic grounds, and you have to tell your story with those limitations and convert those limitations into possibilities, into empowerment. And being able to see an audience sitting as close as we are, only 4 feet away, that type of immersion really has a value. You're no longer just reading a story on a page, but you're allowing audience members to connect history to a person. They see you living, breathing, whether it's singing or dancing or orating. They really get to resonate. It resonates a lot more, in my opinion. So I love those opportunities, and every location is different. Those are different challenges that are welcome.
Yes. And just over your career working in different areas, was that something that you wanted to bring to different organizations, just focusing on the history of those areas as well?
Oh, interesting. I don't think we've ever set out to tell a specific region's story. It was often clients coming to us when they have a need. For example, Port Jefferson reached out to us recently, the Historical Society. They had letters of two brothers communicating, and it was just on the page. So how do we bring this to life? And we worked with them to solve those questions and put it together as a film. And that was the answer to their situation. So I love finding those answers, but I've never been in a position where I could say, I want to tell one region's story.
Yes.
Which is part of the reason this new job as the executive director at the Southold Museum is so exciting.
Yes.
Because I'm getting to focus on one place for a long period of time, not just one production, but really showing the museum and Southold's history over a long period of time and in so many different formats.
Yes. And were you always, besides theater, were you always interested in history at a young age, just looking back at history and connecting it to people today?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because those are some of the most fascinating stories. The fiction is wonderful. Love fiction. But the more you read about our history, I think the more captivated you'll become.
Yes. And I was curious, had you visited the North Fork at all before becoming the executive director?
I had. My family, I think we had a traditional tourist experience coming out here. We've done Greenport. We did the carousel. We enjoyed it. We did the wineries often. For my grandfather's birthday, he would request a wine tour. And so we'd pick one or two wineries each year. And as a family, we would drive on out, do a tasting with him. And we still enjoy it. But that was my experience at the time.
Yes.
It's now over these months getting to talk to community members and business owners and visitors to the museum that I'm starting to form an idea of what this history was and what this history continues to be. We're making it right now. It's not just in the past. It's every day that we spend. This is documented history.
Yes, definitely. And you mentioned just some of your thoughts coming out here. But even now as the executive director of the Southold Historical Museum, what excites you most about leading one of the oldest institutions on the East End?
Oh, there's so much to appreciate, but it has to be the people. It has to be the volunteers who work tirelessly to bring that museum to fruition. The legacy of Southold is tremendously impressive.
Yeah.
Not just the hamlet, but as a whole, the history of the North Fork. The board that I get to work with is one of the most extraordinary boards I really have seen, and it impressed me before I got the position. I was doing my due diligence before taking the job, and I'm going online seeing, okay, what programs do they run? What does their collection look like? Do they have a collections policy? Checking their 990s, due diligence, fine. But it wasn't until I got to sit down with the board and attend some of their meetings that I really understood how this is all happening. And it's because of their commitment and dedication to Southold, the museum and its history. They bring it to life.
Yes. And you've had some experience working at previous historical societies?
I have. Yeah.
So you're used to the environment, but just... was there anything that really attracted you to the North Fork or Southold specifically?
It's the opportunity. It's the opportunity. So I'd spent time previously working with Preservation Long Island and got to spend a good deal of time working out in Sag Harbor. Beautiful coastal town, wonderful time. They have a collections house over there and loved it. So I thought I understood the South Fork, and now coming out here to the north, it feels like one of the best kept secrets. So don't tell anybody. Keep it under your hat. And it really is proving itself to be that. As much as we want to encourage tourism and for families to come out and engage with the history, it really is still that quiet town. And seeing a position to work here day in and day out is beautiful. Unfortunately, right now, I still have a commute about an hour each way, but it's gorgeous.
Yes.
It's farmlands, it's
Yes.
sunrises, it's fields, it's beautiful. And the people are just as equally giving. So, yeah.
Yes. And even moving forward with the organization, you've emphasized partnerships and inclusivity. How do you see the museum growing as a true community hub?
As much as possible. Yeah. I want to, we're only one of many museums. I believe there are about 6 or 7 just within a 10-mile range. There's a lot of us out here.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to visit them all in person yet, but I really do believe we could be collaborating more. We could be sharing each other's events, working together on events, so that when a family decides to come out for a weekend, you don't have to be limited to one location. You don't have to just say, oh, I bought my ticket for here, I better stay put in this area. The North Fork is so connected. Within 2 minutes, you can be in a whole nother world and exploring a whole nother history that complements where you came from. And I'd love to see the Southold Museum connecting bringing those histories together.
Yes, because it's we're all working to the same goal, and I think we could look more in the past where people could have been focused more closely on their own community and whether Greenport or Southold, but I think it is important to collaborate more going forward.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I think a lot of museums, they began as friends groups or societies, and they would have some really well-intentioned individuals who saw a need in a community to preserve the community's history. So they got together and started saving maybe a house, a historic house. But those groups over the years, over the decades, have grown, and the needs of that organization have grown and thus turned into museums. And now it's challenging to have the capacity, to have the resources to uphold these estates. And I think we're a lot stronger together than apart. So rather than us all, struggling to make ends meet with our marketing and grant writing and visitorship and engagement, if we can find a way to bring these stories together, I think we'll all prosper.
Yes. And also, do you have any other initiatives or programs that you're looking forward to going into the fall, or that you're planning that haven't been done at Southold Historical Museum before?
Oh, something that's new that we have going on. Well, we started implementing line dancing. We have a beautiful barn, and we actually had gotten involved with a new program, the Winterfest. And I was doing a tour of the grounds, preparing for the event, and one of the organizers, Brian, he saw that barn, and he said, oh, I'd love to dance in there. And that's how that started. So we now have regular line dancing out there. We have our candlelight tour, which is an institutional event. We've been doing this for years, but I really am excited for all the new elements that we're bringing to it. And that takes place just after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So yeah, come the fall, we have that. We just had our reenactors, which is a beautiful living history day, a weekend, I should say. They sleep over on the campus grounds in Southold. But there's so much happening, so much happening every week.
And then this past weekend, did you have the a fair on the playground?
Yeah.
On the grounds.
Arts and Crafts Fair, that was a success. Yep, Saturday and Sunday we had that. Beautiful vendors, really talented artists filling that lawn, as well as food and live music, of course. But they'll be back in the fall. So if you missed it this past weekend, you're not out of luck.
Yes. And then do you rotate? Are there, you have the tours throughout the grounds, but are there exhibitions going on and rotating? You have archival space as well.
We do. Yep. We have a few exhibits out right now. We have a quilt exhibit. One of the jewels of our collection are our quilts. It really is. It's a
pretty big collection.
It's a big collection, but also of significance. So I've had to learn a lot about quilting and some of the great quilters and what those quilts, the stories they're able to tell. So we have our quilt exhibit. That's up on campus, the Maple Lane campus. We also have our steamboat exhibit, and that's at the Horton Point Lighthouse. So we run the Maple Lane campus. We also run the Horton Point Lighthouse educational programs and tours. And that has a steamboat exhibit of all the steamboats that would have been traveling up and down the Sound and showing, the work they did, the role they played in commerce and the community, which turned out to be fascinating. And we have a partnership, because it's important, with the Southold Yacht Club. And they have another exhibit at our Ann Curry Bell House. And that exhibit, we had a opening gallery party for that, and very well attended, had a wonderful time. But it's another rich history. The Southold Yacht Club has been here as an institution as well. And it's really nice to partner with them and share that space.
Yes. And do you see I know you do the reenactments, but do you plan on even bringing some types of theater productions into the future, or is that...
I don't know. I don't have any plans right now. I actually, I received an email from a trustee just yesterday, and they had seen an article in maybe Newsday talking about Port Jefferson and the Dickens Festival. And I gave a phone call and I said, I saw your email. You were interested in the festival. And she said, yes, maybe this is something we could do. What do you think? Is it something we're capable of? And I said, well, it was my family who helped organize it when it first started. We were building it with the mayor and ran it for 10 years. So yeah, that was something we were familiar with.
Yes.
We don't have any plans for something like that right now, but it is nice to know that we have those opportunities on the table.
Yes. And also just looking at the North Fork and the history out here, how do you balance honoring legacy with innovation, especially when working with local heritage, maritime history, and preservation efforts?
Well, let's say innovation, technology are wonderful tools. Great resources. They should be utilized and employed to maintain, to uphold the legacy, not to usurp it. We can't let a new exhibit or a tour, we can't let the technology of that tour take over the story. That's not what's compelling. That's not what people will remember. We need to share the educational opportunities with visitors. So I'm always looking to strike that balance. You can get a lot of news coverage by using new technology, by projection mapping or whatever the fad may be. Apps became very popular, and audio tours and QR codes. So you go through all of these fads, but they have to serve the purpose of the history. You have to be using them to further that story.
Yes. No, I think that's important because it is, you want to make sure you can make the history interesting, especially even if you wanted to focus on younger audiences that have grown up more with technology. But it is trying to find a fine balance between making it whether interactive or more innovative, but not shying away from the history of that area and making sure it's accurate and showcasing the history so that it's not, you're not putting that to the side as much.
Of course not, because that's our mission. That's the story we want to preserve. We want that to live on for another 100 years. They're still sharing these stories. But to your point, look at where we're sitting right now. You're a local historian, a local history librarian.
Yes.
And we're doing a podcast. We are using technology to meet people where they are. This is the technology that we are comfortable with today. It is a way of consuming information and sharing these stories, and it's great for us to be able to utilize it.
Yes. And looking to the future, well, actually, I wanted to ask one other question before I have another question here, but are there any projects, if you could talk about long-term goals that you're excited to work on for the organization that are more planned out down the line that you could talk about?
Yeah, we have a great committee, a strategic planning committee who meet regularly, and we've been having some very meaningful conversations about what does the future of the Southold Historical Museum look like? And it's important to keep looking forward. We can't get hung up on maybe what we've done in the past or what we have happening tomorrow, but how can we serve our community and our mission in 5 years, in 10 years? And actually, talking about doing a podcast right now, I really commend libraries for creating these conversations, for utilizing this technology, because libraries have evolved. They had a paradigm shift, maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They really started to evolve, and where once we were focused on the literature, each library had a breadth of information and a great reference library, very strong. But over time, there was less of a need to have all those books in one place. And now libraries across Suffolk County started sharing. You can use your library card no matter where you go. You can borrow from each library in return. And we have movies and video games. My children just took out a toy that they were curious about and got to experience. So libraries made that shift. They saw a future that was new, and I think they're doing a great job of meeting that demand. Community services is a big one.
Yes.
And the strategic planning committee, those conversations we're having is trying to understand what will museums be looking like in 5, 10, 50 years. Because I don't think it's going to be the same old, same old. It's going to have to evolve. And while we're not trying to copy the model of a library, I just respect and commend the ability of libraries to meet those new demands. And I hope we're able to do the same.
Yes. Well, thank you for saying that. And looking at you've been here working as executive director for how many?
Long time. Total of, I think we're up to seven months. That's
months.
Right. Yep.
But just looking forward for you personally, what do you hope people will say about the museum and your work? Maybe it's 20 or 50 years from now.
Oh, goodness. If I'm remembered in 20 or 50 years, that would be remarkable. But even just speaking for today, I hope people see my time here spent in bringing people together, showing people that these stories are worth remembering and finding new community groups to share them with.
Yes. And also, I wanted to ask another question. You've probably talked with a lot of people locally in the area that have grown up here, and I was just curious what your hopes might be for separate from the organization, but maybe your hopes for the future of the North Fork and its community down the line. What would you like to see?
Oh, fun. Gosh, there's so many great things to enjoy already. I love seeing how farmlands have developed and evolved, going from potatoes and now developing into a flourishing wine country out here. It's remarkable. I couldn't predict what the next shift is going to be, but I really do enjoy the steps we're taking today and how families, how individuals can come out and spend their time on the North Fork. I hope we find a way to maybe alleviate some of the traffic. I think that would be helpful. I think we'd all appreciate that. Just so that we could have more people enjoying the North Fork. I think the South Fork has a great reputation, and deservedly so. And I'd like to see the North Fork getting that recognition as well.
Definitely. And also, you were involved in another project called Jupiter Hammon Project, which was widely acclaimed. What did that experience teach you about community collaboration and interpreting difficult history?
That was a project I worked on while working at Preservation Long Island, and it sincerely was an honor to collaborate on that project. The people involved, not only the staff, but we had so many stakeholders sharing their voices, and it really taught me the importance of connecting with the community. When you're telling these stories, it's not just words on a page. It's not just the history. This History has a legacy that resonates today to many individuals. And if you're going to tell a story, you have to get their voice heard. You have to understand what it means back then and all the way to the present day. And we spoke earlier talking about doing thorough research. Oral histories are just as important. You need to talk to those stakeholders, reach out, give them an opportunity, meet them where they are, and have those difficult conversations up front, because you're going to have such a more meaningful experience in the end. It's easy to shy away.
Yes.
It's easy to say, oh, we'll just do it this way. We'll keep it simple. Don't make waves. And it's not about being polite. It's about giving somebody agency to have their voices heard. And that's the respect they deserve.
And even just for you working and collaborating on these projects, what do you think makes you gravitate towards certain projects? Because you could easily go to productions that have been done over and over again, but focusing on these new histories that might not have been told before but are tough. What do you think gravitates you to that?
That's my family's fault. That's clearly their fault. Because we don't do what we say are book shows. We've never produced My Fair Lady. Wonderful show, but that's just not what we have done. We've always done original work. And something I've always been passionate about is what's never been done before. So if you want to get me excited about a project, that's how you start. This has never been done before, but... And I'm in. This sounds great. Let's find a way. I think those are the stories most worth telling, the difficult ones.
Yes.
I think we even see it in Hollywood. We get a little jaded as you're watching part 2, part 3, part 7 of the same stories going around and around. There are only 7 stories to tell.
Yes.
So
that's true.
Yeah. So when you're faced with an opportunity to tell a challenging story, a challenging history, step up to the plate and pick up a bat. It's worth it. It's worth the risk.
Yes.
Well, what about you? Because you're taking on this podcast and you're choosing who to have on, and I'm sure those are challenges you face as well.
Yes. I think it's making sure, because you can get I don't want to say that because you can get a lot of the high-level officials, and they're usually easy to communicate with and get on the show, but really getting people that grew up here and maybe their story hasn't been told before, it is harder to connect and make sure they feel comfortable. And I'm only been here 2 years, so that's another thing that I try to make people feel comfortable and put myself in the community, but make sure that I'm not going to take away from the story. Make sure I understand the people that are coming in to share their story, that I'm taking care of it. So it is important that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Providing that opportunity.
Yes. I'm trying to think. I think we covered everything. I wanted to just ask if there was anything else you'd like to say or discuss that we haven't touched on, or even how people could get involved with the organization. Or
Absolutely. We have a thriving community over at the museum. I love our staff working so hard every day, bringing these things to fruition. But we also have, as I've mentioned, wonderful volunteers. And what's a lot of fun, if you do want to get involved, you can head over to southoldhistorical.org and sign up. Just send an email just to let us know that you're interested, because there are so many different projects to employ talents of a variety of skills. So we have volunteers who focus on tours. They like public speaking. They like sharing the history verbally. We have other volunteers who are more interested in behind the scenes and digitizing our collection, making our collection accessible to visitors online from our website at southoldhistorical.org. So we have volunteers that are also fascinated by lighthouses. And they volunteer at not only Horton Point, but they volunteer at other lighthouses, and they come for the weekend to give tours or to help escort people around and sign people in to meet the community. But there are all these different ways. Just committee members. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of volunteers who say, hey, I worked in this field. I think I could be very helpful in helping run maybe your gift shop or treasure exchange. All of these elements to the museum are available, and we're always happy to welcome new volunteers. And you can easily sign up at southoldhistorical.org.
Definitely.
Of course.
That sounds good. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast today and share your story and your passion for theater and history, and also bringing that out to the Southold Historical Museum. It's really important for our community.
Thank you, Chris. I think the work you're doing here is extraordinary as well, really.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you enjoyed episode 181 with Darren St. George. I want to thank you for listening to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, and we'll see you next time.